In this video, I'm going to show you an overview on how Google Classroom works, either coming from the overall setup to the specific details on how to create a classroom, either coming from the overall navigating from back and forth to the 4 critical categories to be aware of, to also the settings that will be important for you to be able to make your workflow really effective as you head into the school year, not only as a teacher, but also as a student. So let's dive into this particular video. First, how am I going to open Google Classroom? To do that, all you do is go to Google Apps, and once you click on that, you scroll down to Classrooms, and once you click on this, you should be able to have an overview of all the classes that you've taken, things to review, calendar, and you have this plus sign, which means that you're going to create or join a classroom to a couple of interesting Google apps that you can navigate out of, and a couple of things to be aware of. Now, in terms of to review, once you have that, you have in here an overview of things to review in terms of what are the things that are tuned in versus assigned, or things that are not yet returned, or versus things that are returned. In this case here, this is where you can track assignments and other work across all your classrooms. However, when it comes to reviewed, you actually have, this is where you will see work that you've marked as reviewed. So those are the interesting things to keep in mind in terms of only that. In here you have drop down menu of other classes and how they actually stand out to other classes. So those are the things to be aware of. Couple of interesting honorable mentions is the work that doesn't have a due date. You actually have this here that is shown right here in terms of the breakdown of the cards all across all your classes on your Google Classroom. So that is something to keep in mind. Another thing here is when you want to go back, you click on classes, and you should be able to get back to where it was at the beginning. Now for calendar, in here, because we don't have any specific dates for our classes, you won't be able to have the calendar for that week, which means that, for example, if I want my schedule for this week, you're going to have your classes are going to be set up in here in terms of their colors and also in terms of the time of the day, all across this particular day of the week. So that's something to keep in mind. Next here is in terms of going back to this particular page, we have all our classes that are set up right here. We want now to look at details by creating a new Google Classroom, and to do that, all you do is you create or join a classroom. Once you click on the plus sign, you click join if you want to. In this case, we want to create a classroom. Once you click on that, you're going to have these following terms and conditions to be aware of in terms of privacy, and also things to be aware of for students, use of Google Classroom and personal accounts. Please make sure you read this before you actually click on that, and then you click on continue, and you're going to have, in this case, your classroom to be set up. In this case, if you want to build a classroom, you're going to have the name of your class written down. You're going to have the section depending on when you want this section to be lined up compared to other sections in that same course that you're taking. Let's say, for example, I'm going to be teaching, let's say, chemistry, and in here we have our section. Maybe you're teaching one of 5 sections, and your section is going to be, let's say, 002. You're good with that. Once you have that, next one here is subject. Let's say you want to have a specific subject that you're going to be addressing. Under chemistry, you just type atom, and then once you have that, you have your room number. You can make it virtual, or you can just leave it the way it is. And so once you click on create, you'll be able to have this take a while before it actually gets you into the room that you want. In here, we're going to look at the stream category, where we have the customized banner, where you can change it to whatever banner of your choice in terms of the color, or have a specific photo. Once you have that, you hit save and you're good to go. In here, we have this particular part that is dedicated for sharing this particular class code for students to have access to this particular classroom, or you have this couple of drop down menus that will help you to control this particular class code. Another one here to keep in mind is upcoming timeline or events that students, once they come in, they can see things that are due and many of things that are not yet due. Other things as well is in terms of announcements that you want to share to your class. Once you click on that, you can actually type any information of your choice, like for example, hello everyone and welcome to our class. So yeah, that is something to keep in mind. Or if you want to share a video or a particular file, or you want to add a link, or in this case something from your Google file, you can actually have that to be created. Now, a couple of things to be aware of is that you want to schedule this to a later time when students actually start, or before they start. You can have that actually scheduled, and also if you want to save as draft, you can actually go for that. So those are the things to keep in mind in terms of this particular settings for this particular classroom. So other things here that is available is your classroom can actually add comments like, hey, we are excited to join the classroom. So those are things to keep in mind for this stream section. Another thing here for classroom here is in terms of creating or developing a classroom folder which is based on Google Drive. You can go for that, or you can create whatever format of information or resources I want to share with the class. You can have that actually displayed either coming from assignments to quiz assignment, questions, materials, reuse posts, or topics. And this is a great way to build your classroom in terms of not only topics, that for example we have history of Adam. This is a particular topic that students should be aware of, and once you have that, you can now build on this by creating, let's say, assignments, or you can create a question and many more things. So this is kind of like the main topic, and you have chapters that will be developed down below. You can also have access to your Google Drive by, in this case, you can share or drop a file here or create a file, and then that will be a nice way for your students to be able to have access to this. And you can also develop this on a Google Calendar in terms of when it is going to be due, or when you're going to address that particular topic. So those are the things to keep in mind concerning this particular section of classroom. For people, this is where you're going to be adding students, and to add students, all you do is you highlight the specific students' emails, you paste it here, and then you hit invite, and you'll be able to have students to join in. Another alternative will be to invite link. Once you have this, you copy it and you paste it to a particular email that you sent out to students so that they can join, and that is another alternative to that. Another thing here is in terms of collaboration. This is fantastic because you can add other teachers as well to this particular space, so that you guys can build this particular site or space together to provide a rich and inclusive workspace for everyone in this particular classroom. And finally, here we have grades, where you're going to have students that will be having their grades for that course actually marked. This is definitely connected to Google Forms, where you can actually grade students and keep track of all the things that they've done so far, and that is really fantastic to be aware of. So once you have this, the next and final one is in terms of the settings for this particular classroom, where you have your class description, things that students should be aware of before they join into this classroom. Another one here is in terms of class code invite. You will turn it on, which means that students are going to have that actually accessible. However, if the class code is turned off, it means that that code will be deactivated. The class code is actually shown right here, and in here we have class view, and you have, in this case, display class code. If you want to keep it private, you can keep that private. However, that is not the case here. Now, manage Google Meet link. In this case, since we're having our classroom to be virtual, you can actually develop a Google Classroom Meet, and by that way you can actually have that developed right over here. Another one here is show delete items. If you want to show that, you can go for that. For the stream pass, students can post comments. If you don't want students to post comments but it's only teacher, you have this option right here, classroom on the stream or classwork on the stream. And in this case, if you want to add notifications, you can go for that. Show attachments and details, you can go for that. And finally, here for grade calculation, we have overall grading, which is set up right here, or show overall grades to students. You can have that to shown right here, and grade categories, which means that you can actually add grade categories out of 100. Those are the things to keep in mind in terms of your classroom settings. Now, if you want to discard this, you can go for that, or you cancel, you go for that, Otherwise, we can just discard it and we cannot go back to how it was before. So I hope you found this overview really informative. Details on these particular 4 categories will be highlighted on our future videos. I hope you found this really informative. Please hit a comment down below. Let me hear your thought about this particular building of our Google Classroom, in terms of, in this case, not only how easy you can access all the classes here, for example this particular classroom that I built right here, but also how you're able to access the classroom, streams, people and grades, and many more things to come. All the same, hit a comment down below. Let me hear your thought about this, but that way I can talk to you all soon. Stay smart as always and believe in yourselves.